Okay, today I'm going to be making a bit of a different video. It's going to be on a rather sad topic, so, I'm going to try to do this as well as possible, treat the subject matter as respectfully as possible, and the people involved, and all that entails. I'm going to try to treat all of it as respectfully as possible. And put the world needs to be in Kapistan aside for one video, at least. So what I want to talk about today is bully victim suicide and what parents need to do to prevent it. Basically, to really try and prevent that stuff, besides telling your kid that bullying's wrong, this is what to do when it happens, like, teaching your kid to stand up for themselves, like, to use physical self-defense, obviously, if the bully's getting physical. To tell your parents about the bullying. Everyone that's bullied should at least tell their parents about it, so the parents can do something about it, in case the school fails, which they usually do. And I guess there's telling a teacher, but as I said, they usually fail. I guess you can always... I don't know. But anyways, the biggest thing to take away... the biggest thing I want to say is, if your kid's being bullied, and the school just won't do anything about it, just take them out of there. Because I'm really sick and tired of bully victim suicides happening, okay? It's not cool. It's very tragic for not only a, like a student or kid or minor or teenager to die, especially, but because of bullying, like, the students keep abusing the other students, and they eventually take their own lives as a result. That is sad. And that shouldn't happen anywhere, but it does. And it's really sad the lack of justice these parents get. Whether they sue the school and the school doesn't get any action done against them for failure to protect the student, or maybe they get some money or a settlement, whatever. Most of the time they don't get anything, Then their student's dead. Their kid is dead, which is the ultimate, loss of parents. So, what I'm urging every parent or parents to do if their student's being bullied and the school isn't doing anything about it, or maybe even just from the get-go, is take your kid out of that damn school, because you have to protect your kids at all costs. You're the parents, you're the people who brought them into this world, you're the one raising them. You have to be like your kids' own protectors, at least in that case, their benefactor or whatever. You have to do that, because nobody else is going to really do it for you. The teachers aren't doing it. They aren't protecting the students. And it doesn't even have to be the students who are being bullied that they aren't protecting. It seems like in school, teachers aren't really protecting students, period. Like, there's a school shootings already, classic example of how the school isn't really protecting students because, well, they don't have armed teachers, for one, to protect the students, to be armed in case someone armed comes in. Okay, well, yeah, they do have the armed police, but those guys can fail themselves, as seen as at the Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, which Nicholas Cruz just got convicted for to life sentence, perpetrating the shooting there in 2018. They had armed police officers there. They didn't do shit. It's not that they even failed to fight. They didn't even go in. So, armed teachers seems like a good solution to where they're available, at least, if the cops are there. But anyways, I digress. Okay, so teachers aren't gonna protect your kid, as evidenced so many fucking times, including with me. They didn't protect me. Or did very little. The students aren't gonna protect your kid, usually. Usually students don't step in if another student's being bullied. Usually. The police aren't necessarily going to protect your kid. Campus police officers were there at my school, every school, public school since middle school, and a lot of bullying still happened. So, as the parents who bring the kid into this world and raise them, you have to protect them. And if that means taking them out of a bad school, then do it. Because Schools are a dangerous place, public schools at least. I heard private schools are safer, there's less bullshit going on. Homeschooling is obviously the safest because you don't have to worry about bullies, period, or abusive teachers. So, yeah, I mean, I know I'm probably going to get some comments saying that, oh, you need to teach your kid to stand up for themselves. Well, yeah, there is that. You know, teaching your kid how to defend themselves, whether it be physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally, that kind of thing. But when the environment is just hostile, should you really have to do that? Should you really have to fend for yourself or deal with bullies constantly, or at least deal with them initially a lot? I mean, the burden isn't on the victim to defend themselves. The burden is on the bully not to be an asshole, and for the faculty to run the damn school, do their damn jobs, and do something about it. Protect the students who are being bullied. They obviously don't do that. They didn't do it in my case. At least not much. And, you know, working through the system isn't gonna work, or tends not to work more often. It does, because they don't care. They don't care if you do go up to them and mention, hey, my kid's being bullied, or if your student goes up to them and say, hey, I'm being bullied. They don't care if you mention it again and again and again and you have the evidence. They don't give a shit about your students, about your kid, the other students. Heck, they may not even give a shit about other faculty. In fact, a lot of schools don't give a shit about other faculty because there's a lot of gripes teachers have had at school boards for not really caring about the teachers. Whether it be about the way they are treated or if they have enough money for teaching supplies, you know, just like a support. The higher-ups definitely do not care about the lower downs. And that should tell you something. If the faculty doesn't even care about themselves as a whole, then this institution really isn't worth attending. I mean, you could wait for your student, your kid, you could wait for your kid to gain the confidence to stand up for themselves and like totally sock the bully in the face or bullies in the faces, or even give them a beatdown. And it has happened before. Victims have eventually turned the ties on their bullies until they kick their asses. But are you really going to take that risk and wait for them to do that only to maybe have them fail? Is that really worth the risk? It's like my kid will stand up for them eventually. Well, what if they don't and they're still getting abused and they're still getting potentially closer and closer to committing suicide? Well, that's not good. You gotta take them out of that school. And sad to say, but my parents didn't really do a good job of protecting me from bullies. They didn't. I still got bullied a lot, but that just gave me some comebacks, some verbal rebuttals, you say to them. And when I even complained to him, they didn't even work that well. He said, well, I gave you the comebacks. It's like, well, dude, they were physically bullying me. I had people grab me by the bare arm, by the bare hand, as I mentioned that kind of thing so many times before. I had people get in my face. One guy attacked me in the stairway. It's not cool, and this is just in middle school. It happened a little bit in high school, a bit less, but still. I told my parents about it. They were just either downright incompetent or apathetic, especially my dad. My dad, not a good guy. But anyways, you have to when your kid tells them they're being bullied, take them seriously. Like I keep saying, if the school isn't going to do anything, whether you work in the system or not, just take them out of there. The school doesn't deserve your patronage, nor are they entitled to it, if they just aren't protecting anyone. I'm sorry, but schools are not entitled to your patronage, your kids' patronage, the students' patronage. They aren't entitled to you being there. They aren't entitled to attendance. And yes, I know truancy laws, but for now, at the immediate moment, you gotta take the risk of violating those and get in trouble for it. Just take your kid out of the damn school. Because, you know, your kid, as I keep repeating, it's like one of the most valuable things in this world. And to see them take their own life, yeah, I'm not, that's not cool. And the world just seems to really move on about bully victim suicides. I don't see much protests. I don't see rioting. I'm not saying people should riot about this crap. But at the same time, a riot, it's definitely a reflection that you've been hurt to such a degree, you're starting to break and smash stuff and agitate the gravel. Well, I don't see anything like that happening over bully victim suicide. It's just kind of a whatever to society. I mean, if there's like police brutality against someone like George Floyd or Chris Donner, or some other guy, whatever. Hope I'm not getting that last name wrong. There'll be riots and protests over that. You know, people will agitate the gravel at least decently or a little bit. Bully victim suicides, they don't get much attention or much response. So not only do you definitely not want that to happen in and of itself, of your kid committing suicide, chances are, if the deed ends up happening, you're not going to get a whole lot of justice from the civilian populace or the authorities. I mean, I'm sorry, but so far the system or society is pretty cruel like that, and it kind of goes to show you need to do everything, and I mean everything, in your power to prevent this shit. I mean, sometimes the only one protecting you is you, and sometimes the only one protecting your kid is you. So, I say, you know, if the school won't do anything, you've pleaded with them again and again, you've had your evidence even, just take them out of there, you know, take your kid out of school, you know, and I think one reason bullying happens so much in public school is, besides the fact the school doesn't do a damn thing about it, is it's a hostile environment. I might make a companion video. I kind of already went into school being a hostile environment before, but I guess maybe to really explain it, maybe I'll make a video kind of like exclusively about bullying as a companion piece to this. I mean, it's just that if you have an environment where kids are just forced to go and forced federalist indoctrination, bottom of the barrel substandard curriculum crap, I don't think people have that much of an incentive to be all that nice to each other, okay? Public school environment doesn't foster positivity or altruism or caring. I mean, that can happen, but it's not the norm, it's the exception. If you're forced to be with a bunch of people you don't care about, just don't like, you know, or mean, there's not going to be a whole lot of care to go around. And it's going to lead to bullying because some people just don't like other people and feel they have a right to mess with them. And it'd be much better if schools were voluntary to where people could go voluntarily and be with the people they want to be with voluntarily. That people would be with who they want and not with who they wouldn't, and there'd be so much less conflict as a result, including bullying. You know, you get to avoid the bullies get to avoid the victims. They don't have anyone to pick on, because they don't have anyone to be judgmental towards or what the people are like, or something like that. So, I just, and I guess another thing to mention is that schools still get your damn attendance anyway, even if they're crap. Even if they have bullying, even if they have shootings, even if they have fucking teacher-student sexual relationships. Yeah, that's still a thing. Even if they still have that, they still get attendance. That's the big thing. Another thing about bullying is schools don't have any incentive, real incentive, to curb it, reduce it, fix it, whatever, because they still get your attendance, they still get your money. If they have no incentive to fix this stuff, since they still get your attendance. If they didn't get your attendance, if everyone who is dissatisfied with the public school system because of its bullshit just left en masse, whether it be the bullying, the shootings, the teacher-student sexual relationships, the bad curriculum, the stress, you know, whatever legitimate gripe you have to the public school system, if people just left because it was shit, then they'd be out of business. Which is why they have to enact truancy laws to make it so you have to go despite the shit. They know their business is shit, so they make it so you have to go to get your money anyway. I mean, truancy laws are not just about indoctrination. They're about money. Bottom line. Now, I wish people who support truancy laws would realize this so that they would no longer support them, but they don't. They just think real bare bones, thoughtlessly on the surface, that kids need an education, they need to be forced to go. You know, and despite all the shit that's been going on in public schools, people still support truancy laws, which I can't fathom. It blows my mind. Because lack of school safety and forcing kids to go is child endangerment or minor endangerment or teenager endangerment, whatever you call it. So you're forcing people to go to a place that isn't safe. You're endangering them, and that should definitely that's definitely against the NAP. And people still support truancy laws despite all these risks or confirmations of danger. I don't get it. It seems like, you know, lack of safety in public schools to debunk truancy laws right there. I mean, it's like, you don't even need to get into, oh, they're indoctrinating, or your kids are, oh, it's just for money, you know, or, oh, the school system just ain't that great, period. I mean, if you have safety as the forefront of reasons why your kids shouldn't be going to school, you'd think people would be on board with that and not support these damn truancy laws anymore, but they still do. Okay, tangent. But it also ties into bullying, and despite all the bullying and bullying victim suicides and even homicides, people still support truancy laws. The public school system still gets attendance and money as a result. People shouldn't stand for this. You don't have to stand for this. I mean, well, we might have to deal with truancy laws, but you don't have to morally, in a sense, stand for this bullshit. You can rise above it, you know, stop sending your kid to a violent school. I mean, you can do all that, but you have to take the steps to do that. I mean, you have to take the initiative to do that. You have to go, like, son or daughter, you're going for all the shit at this school. They aren't doing shit. I'm taking you out of here. You don't have to suffer anymore. And then there's the whole, well, won't your kid have to go to a different school? Or what about other schools? You can't just avoid bullying forever. Other schools may have bullying too. And that's true, but the immediate thing is, you gotta at least take your student out of that school. Things just ain't working out. The school just isn't helping, and your kid just ain't standing up for themselves for whatever reason, or they are, but nothing's really working. And I think the goal should be to find a school that is safe for your student overall, your kid overall. Because humans aren't meant to be in hostile environments. They're meant to be in peaceful environments. I know not every environment can be perfect, or, you know, maybe even optimal, or at least not perfect. But I think environments can at least be optimal, or at least decent or adequate when it comes to safety and making sure people don't abuse one another. And if the faculty just ain't doing that, then they don't deserve your patronage. They don't deserve your patronage. I would think that having a faculty of any establishment, whether it be a school, restaurant, store, shop, boutique, bistro, whatever, would mean making sure it's safe for its patrons. I would think that's part of what being a faculty, a staff member, and employee means, is making sure this damn place is safe for the people in it, involved in it, on the premise, what have you. And if a school especially isn't doing that, making sure people don't abuse each other, students, then fuck it, they don't have to go anymore, at least not in my book. So, yeah, just be vigilant. If your kid's coming home from school crying, chances are they are being bullied. It's hard to mention it. To tell you the truth, I didn't always mention when I got bullied in school to my parents. But for the times I did, they just were really ineffective, or really didn't care, really bumbling and incompetent. My mom, my dad, yeah, I'm still here today, and I didn't commit suicide, but it was awful. I mean, let's be honest, bullying's awful, and the fact that society kind of tolerates it in one way or another needs to stop. People need to just do what it takes to end bullying, whether it be taking out your kid out of a violent school and put them in a better school, or teaching them how to stand up for themselves, physically, verbally, what have you. Or just holding establishments more accountable, you know, like, I don't know, suing a school if it got really bad, or something, like assault, sexual harassment, whatever, for bullying against a student. You know, people need to do more against bullying. And I'm not trying to come off as mushy-gushy, like, everybody needs help, everyone needs help. No, I'm not. I'm just talking about basic human decency and rights. You know, I mean, you're either in a safe place that has the obligation to be safe, or you aren't. And people are either doing their job or they aren't. And you gotta act accordingly. If they're not doing their job, then fuck it, I'm not going here anymore. So, I wish society would take bullying more seriously. It claims to take bullying seriously, but the actions and the results show otherwise. So, a bit of a long video, but I had a lot to cover, and I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, to be honest. But, it's sad, and things need to be done about this shit. So, and you know what? Some students are truant in and of their own volition. They don't even wait for their parents to take them out of school, if their parents would even do that. They just fucking skip. They go, I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with this shit. I don't want to get bullied. I want to get pushed into a locker, grabbed or shoved or beat on. They don't want to take that shit, so they skip school on their own, and whether they get in trouble with the truancy officers or not, they at least decide to pull themselves out of that hostile environment. And I commend them for that. It's risky. It's hard to find a new way to get education, but I recommend homeschooling, and this is coming from someone who's public school, because you're safe there. You don't have to worry about bullies or teacher-student relationships or teachers. You don't have to worry about shit or peer pressure or your peers being rude. You don't have to worry about shit with homeschooling. I heard private schooling is a lot better than public schooling because it has an incentive to be better. Like, if it's not good, parents take their kids out and they lose money. Whereas if public school is not good, parents usually kind of end up still sending their kids there anyway because they're forced to by law. Remember, if you gotta have public school by default according to truancy laws, if you can't get anything else. So yeah, just take your kids out of school if they're being bullied. I personally wouldn't wait to where you constantly work within the system and they just don't listen. I wish my parents took me out of school, had me be homeschooled. I pleaded with them. They didn't give a shit. My parents are kind of shit, to be honest. But, I just take your kids out of school. I just want everyone to be safe. I don't want another boy victim suicide story to happen. It's just sad, and yeah, just take them out.